Hello, and welcome to the Day 4 video news blog of the macMania 5 Geek Cruise. I'm Janet Butler with Media Support Group. By Day 4, we had our morning routine down. And Myra, in the Explorations Cafe, had our order, our name, and our stateroom memorized. Thanks, Myra. Today we will adventure into the rainforest and experience cave tubing. But first we'll hear from a couple of the macMania presenters. Have you ever been working on your Mac and tried to say, move a file, and the computer says, wait a minute, you don't have permission to do that? Well, we found Ted Landau, a senior contributor to Macworld, and asked him, what can we do about those pesky permissions?
Some people find it kind of annoying to have a message that appears and says, you don't have permission to do this. After all, you own the computer, you paid for the computer, hopefully. You should have permission to do what you want. The reason you get those problems at all is because Mac OS X is based on a Unix system, and the idea of the Unix system was that it was a multi-user system, so that hundreds, thousands of people could be using the same system. And you had to protect it so that your data couldn't be viewed by Joe down the hall or Jane in the other room. If the problem is simply that it isn't letting you delete a file because it says you don't have permission, which is one common thing that happens, there are utilities that you can get that you just enter your password when it asks you to, and it will delete it. Essentially, is what these utilities are doing is going into the Unix software for you and issuing the necessary commands to get around the permission problem.
Are these utilities on the Mac already, or are they third-party?
They are third parties by and large. Apple's solution to these sort of problems is to use Terminal by and large. And so if you want something simpler than that, you get a third-party utility. They are mostly free or very inexpensive shareware, like $25 or less. And you just go online. Version Tracker is a good site that lists all the software available for the Mac, and you just do a search for, probably just do a search on the word permissions, and you'll get probably a dozen utilities.
Well, that's something I'm definitely going to try when I get home. Talking about other things to try, let's get a couple of Mac gems from Leo Laporte. One about Quinn, a clone of Tetris for Macs, and the other about power napping with your Mac.
Anybody like Tetris? This is a good one. You'll have fun with this one on the ship because this is an excellent Tetris implementation. But it also has the neat feature that it'll use Bonjour networking to play head-to-head Tetris.
And now Leo talks about Pizziz, an innovative program that will help you get a power nap during the day or a good night's sleep at night.
I've given it some parameters. It has a lot of voice files and music files. It mixes them randomly. They say there's millions of possible combinations, so every nap is different.
With more than 600 Mayan cities, Belize is the center of the ancient Mayan world. Many Mayans still live in Belize today. Once a British colony, Belize gained its independence from Britain in 1981. Belize is also home to the second largest barrier reef in the world at 168 miles in length. Belize City, where we will go ashore, is the largest community and the main port. Established in 1972, education is their greatest commitment, and they boast a literacy rate of 92%. And now, on to cave tubing. The first part of the adventure is a 30-minute walk through the rainforest. And now it's time to get wet and ride the Saboon River through the cave. These caves were sacred to the Mayans. They used these caves for their sacrifices and rituals. At one point, our guide tells us all to turn off our headlamps. It gets very quiet. I'm not a real fan of the dark. I am really glad to hear him tell us to turn our lights back on. After we are out of the cave, the leisurely ride down the river continues. Adventurers get hungry. Now it's time for some authentic Mayan cuisine. Wasn't today a great adventure? Tomorrow, we will explore some Mayan ruins in Santo Tomas, Guatemala. And we'll talk to the Veendam's environmental officer to hear about Holland America's commitment to being green. And of course, we'll check in with a couple of macMania presenters. This is Janet Butler saying happy sailing. See you tomorrow.